Share your screen, bud.
Okay, yeah, let me share my screen with you guys here. Don't you know where am I at? Google Meet. That's not what I want. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so I'm gonna present something else. Share. Okay, do you see what I got here?
Hmm.
All right, so here's where we're at. So basically, data syndicate, cold calling. We're going to be looking at first to market data. We're going to be looking at pre-foreclosure. There's going to be other, I think, pieces of data in there too, like probate and tax liens and stuff like that, which is great. But predominantly, this is what we're going to do. So uh, this is the you're on camera. Nice. Um, we are going to be looking at these pre-foreclosure stuff, and so we need to figure out, because all of these, as you guys have figured out so far, like they're all different. Like every single, like, yeah, there's a common thread, but each situation literally is different, and we need to know the more ways to solve the problem we can implement, the more people we can help, and then obviously the more business that we can generate for our company. So obviously we have a lot of strategies to help people in foreclosure. So it's good to understand the foreclosure timeline. So we are in Texas. Texas is a non-judiciary state, and this is why we have deeds of trust, not a mortgage deed here. Okay, so pre foreclosure is when there's missed payments, right? So there's a couple of months behind, but there has not been a notice of default filed yet. Okay, a notice of default is when the lender has officially begun the foreclosure process. Okay, and so they'll send the borrower probably an email, a phone call, hard mail. They're going to let them know that there is a formal,
Certified mail,
yes,
something like
like
that.
you know you're behind, and like this isn't going to blindside you. A lis pendens is something called, which basically means a lawsuit's been filed. It's a Latin term in our judiciary system, but this is for a judicial state where you have a mortgage deed, where you can't, where the foreclosure actually has to be prosecuted in a court of law. So in Texas, we're not really concerned about this so much. So notice of trustee sale or a sheriff's sale. This is when you have, this is what we're looking at when I'm going on to the county, like Harris County, Guadalupe County, Bexar County. When the notice of trustee sale gets published, it gets recorded publicly, and this is where we can find out who owns the house, who the lender is, the address of the house, and all that stuff. And each one looks different, but so typically what happens is, if you guys remember, the deed of trust has the borrower, which is the grantor, because they're pledging the collateral to the lender. The grantee is the lender. Okay, the deed of trust is just a security instrument to secure the collateral as the investment, as the collateral to protect the investment. And in the Texas non-judiciary, that deed of trust has a third party trustee that's in favor of the lender. And so when a trustee sale, usually the trustee gets assigned to another trustee who's going to prosecute the auction. But a notice of trustee sale happens when an auction date has already been set. Okay?
Is that when typically when the list gets published at the county courthouse?
Yes, is the notice of trustee sale. So what I'm getting in Bexar County every month is a list of trustee sales that are published publicly. Same with Guadalupe County, and they get up. So that's why our data gets updated every 1 to 2 to 3 days with more pieces of data, because more of these trustee sales are being filed and recorded publicly. And it usually, once it's recorded, it's available the next day for public viewing. And then we have an auction. So usually the auction is the first Tuesday of the month at the courthouse, wherever the property is at, and they'll come in. Usually the bank sends somebody into the auction to bid the property, and like usually they start with a $10 bid or $100 bid, and then the trustee or the bank will go in there and bid up, like say we owe 173,775, they'll go and say 173,775, and then next guy will bid up over that, so that way they can get their money back. And now, if it doesn't sell in the auction, then it will become something called an REO, or a real estate owned, which is what that means, where the bank has taken the property back and it did not sell at auction. Okay.
Question: does the first Tuesday of the month, is that pretty uniform throughout the entire country?
It's like that in Texas, and it was like that in South Carolina. So where I was at, all the places I've done real estate, that's what it is.
Okay, just curious. Okay.
And so this is a mortgage foreclosure auction, by the way. This is not a tax sale. So a tax, if
Right.
you don't pay property taxes, you could owe $100,000 on your mortgage, and if you owe $20,000 in property taxes, that $20,000 tax lien from the government takes superiority over the primary lien on the property, and they'll take your house for the taxes. So since we're not really dealing with that, I don't want to get into the bunny trail of this, but
Right.
but that's still an interesting strategy to buy real estate. But REO,
You might now, because there's a bunch of tax liens on those.
this is great. So getting a tax lien before the auction is the best. If we wait till the auction has ceased, then you have to pay in cash, and you have to wait for a redemption period for the title to be
For the person to not buy the house back.
correct. Yes. There's a redemption period there. So that's
What is the redemption period? 6 months?
I think it's 12 in Texas. Let me just
Yeah.
look real quick. I believe
I
it's
think it
12.
varies.
What is the redemption? Let me just look real quick.
And that's after the auction, correct?
Yeah, after the, so like, let's say I buy a tax sale at an auction for $20,000. The house is worth maybe $150,000, and I put my own $20,000 to work. I can go and do whatever I want with it, but there is a chance
They can redeem it.
They can redeem it.
No, it's
Man, yeah, that's risky.
It is, but if you don't, but here's the thing though, like, redemption period is 2 years for a homestead. A non-homestead property is 6 months.
So it goes up to 2 years for a homestead property.
A homestead property is 2 years, but
Well, that's you know what? That's almost that's almost like the law of Moses, kind
But
of.
they have to pay you back in interest.
they do have to pay back. So it's saying here though, the redemption premium, if it's redeemed in the first year, then there's a 25% levy. Like if you pay $20,000, they got to pay me $5,000, $25,000 to get it back. In the second year, they got to pay me $30,000 to get it back. So like my money is still working for me, right? So even if I I put the investment and they came with $20,000, they couldn't redeem it. They'd have to bring me 25.
But if it was like a turnkey property, for the most part, and maybe just really light cosmetic, and let's just say you have it, you bought it right away, and it's cash flowing for a couple of years. And it's still kind of a win, but it's just not as big as a win.
Yeah, you can't go and sell it though, because the title is not marketable. The title is dirty.
Right. No, but I'm saying though that like cash flows. You're obviously they're not selling it; they're renting it. They're using it as rental.
You can do that. That's a risky move. It's a risky move because you could potentially be liable for that. You'd have to probably consult with a real estate attorney to see that, and it depends on the wording of your lease too. Like if it was disclosed that it is the tax property, there's a chance of redemption. And you put that in the lease where it's,
And then the person that's renting would have to come out.
Possibly, yeah. You could do a month-to-month lease in that situation. So that's a possibility too. But once the redemption period is done and they don't redeem the property back, then you will go and file something called a quiet title action, which has to be done by a real estate attorney, and it can take anywhere between maybe 2 weeks and months. Like Corbin's property, that quiet title action, if it gets taken for a tax auction, would take a while because of the heirs and the situation going on here, and that's a possibility. You just never know, or it could be really fast.
Yeah.
So, but a real estate. Oh, so like this is the thing for Daniel. The list that we have, I don't know if the list we have actually has the lender involved, but if we can go and find certain lenders that we want to work with and then go through that list with a fine-tooth comb and one by one and like mark them and demarcate them in some way and call all those the day after the auction. We could do a Andy Heller strategy as well, and potentially put another 1 to 3 deals in our pipeline just from building those relationships with small local banks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good idea. But so like these are the houses that don't get purchased at the auction, and it saves the bank. And so what that's going to happen is the bank is going to go through this long, lengthy bureaucratic process to go and relist the property on the MLS with certain REO real estate agents, and they're going to try to get it at market value, market rate. If you can get an offer on this before it goes to market, before it gets in the hand of a real estate agent, then you can get a good discount on it and build a pretty good business doing that. Provided that his strategy actually works and he's just not trying to sell you a coaching program. But I think it probably does. So are we tracking here? So having an idea of the process, the chronological process of a foreclosure from missing payments all the way down to the bank taking the house back. So most of the people we're going to be working with are going to be in a notice of default or in a notice of trustee sale. These are going to be probably the people we're working with the most. Now, when we call them and get a hold of them, we're going to have to obviously process them and qualify them and see exactly what's going on. Somebody that's $100,000 in arrears on a house that's not worth it, well, like we might not really be able to help them, but we'll see. So strategy number 1, straight cash purchase, right? So if there's enough equity in the house to buy it at a discount that would work for an investor, we can just do a cash offer. Stop the auction, potentially put money in their pocket, but this is a fast, cleanest way out. No problems, nothing going on there. It's a powerful solution. We can close quickly, pay off the mortgage, all that stuff, and the homeowner can walk away with potentially something in their pocket, and that's a huge help to them. So so some of the things to consider too with a cash offer, especially Alex, is when you look at the like if you get a mortgage statement and you have an outstanding principal balance, that's not the payoff. The payoff is going to be the arrears included with the principal balance, because that's all the interest that they and principal that they have not paid up to date. So in the bank, they're not going to just give the interest away. They want interest to they want interest to the penny, to the moment that it sells, and they're going to get it. And they have, when you do the math, you can quantify how much interest is made per day on a loan.
Okay.
On a bank. Does that make sense?
Tracking. They want their money.
Yeah. So like if you have a closing set out for like the 23rd of the month, and the mortgage payment is typically due on the 2nd of the month, they're going to prorate those 21 days of interest. And so the title company will go to the lender and get something called a payoff statement with the closing date specified. And so it's going to exceed the principal balance, because they're going to calculate the interest to the day.
Okay.
That makes sense. And that's it. But we always want to make sure that we are doing a preliminary title search at the county clerk. And we can do that by looking up the property address. We can look up the name of the owner of the property on there to see if there's anything going on. So like when we have Jeffrey, go ahead.
Do me a favor. Let me just. This is my landlord. She's probably. Never mind. My wife might have answered it. Never mind. Go ahead.
So the title company is always going to do a title search, but like for example with Jeffrey, they had 2 people that had the contract to sell it, or they had buyers lined up, and they didn't close because of the seller, which is interesting. And the one guy was extremely detailed. He remembered everything about it, and he said when they got the title search back, like the sellers themselves had IRS judgments against them, which would have had to been part of the payout of the sale. Now the seller denied this.
Sorry, man. Let me just.
That's okay. So there was something going on that we just didn't know, and I just don't think that they were completely transparent with everything. I'm certain they weren't actually.
Yeah, that's a common thing.
Yeah. So we could have HOA liens. We could have a mechanic. I think a mechanic's lien only has like, it's either a 2-year or a 10-year statute of limitations. So like they literally, it's kind of sucks. But like if you didn't pay your HVAC guy and he put a lien on your property, this happens all the time. That could mess up your title, but they usually have a little bit of time to do that.
Can I put a lien on his company?
You could. It's called the UCC lien. You could put a lien. So like one of the hard money lenders that I've used before to buy houses, they put a lien on my LLC as an extra security mechanism. And the closing attorney was like, "Why are you doing this?" It's like, good question. So yeah, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So like if we held property or any other assets in that LLC, they would have the right to go and try to, get those assets and lay stake in them if we defaulted. So yeah, you have IRS, HOAs, mechanics liens, or potential judgments, like maybe a child support judgment, or if you defrauded somebody and you got sued for 10 grand and you couldn't pay them and you got a $10,000 judgment over your head like that, that would show up on the seller. That would likely need to get paid out at the closing. Tracking?
I'm tracking.
Cash offer number one. Number two is what we've been doing the most off of, is a subject to transaction. Obviously, you know what a subject to transaction is. Alex knows what a subject to transaction is. So we pretty much don't need to spend a ton of time on this.
Subject to strategy two.
But again, we just need to know the arrears, any late fees, attorney fees, escrow. So an escrow shortage is also part of the arrears too. That's going to need to be caught up. And that's probably going to come from taxes. And so if there's a long time of mortgage not being paid, the lender is not going to want to lose their investment to paying taxes. So they'll pay the taxes and escrow them. And they're going to want to, like, if in the event that this went to auction and it didn't sell, like that would be part of the judgment that you'd be faced with as well.
Escrow taxes.
Yes. An escrow shortage would come from non-payments, right? And so like if you set it up to have your property taxes be escrowed, you can set that up at closing, or if you don't do that at closing, you can have it set up later. You just have to do a couple of paperwork, a couple of signatures, and you can send it into your lender or your loan servicer, and they will they'll escrow your taxes. So they'll pay them, right? And then they'll, like, whatever it is, if it's 10 grand, then you'll have an escrow deficiency of $10,000, and they're going to spread that $10,000 out over 12 payments, and that's what your payment's going to go up by. So it'll be like $8,300 a month. $830 a month. Your monthly.
$8,300 a month. Wow.
$830. I'm sorry.
It's okay, but yeah, I'm tracking. Okay, so the lender will put in escrow and pay the taxes and put that amount in an escrow.
And the reason is because the tax.
They don't want to lose their house based off of taxes.
Correct. Yeah, and the taxes will take superiority if there's a default on the taxes.
So they're doing that to protect from. Yeah.
Their investment. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that. So when we're looking at a mortgage statement to do a subject to, like, the escrow shortages have to be considered as well, because if there's no shortage and there's a surplus, then, like, because right now my escrow for my house is like $1,800 positive. So when my insurance gets renewed, that will like my insurance will get sent to my lender, and or I can pay it myself at once, but they'll pay the entire 12-month premium, and then they'll just split the payment over 12 months, and whatever it is, they'll just bill it to me. And so if there's a shortage, for example, if I have $1,800 positive in my escrow and my new policy costs $2,200, then I will have a $400 shortage in my escrow account, and they're gonna take that $400 and divide it over 12 months, and they're gonna increase my monthly payment by whatever that number is. It's not going to be much, but I mean, it'll still go up.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. Like, one of my previous houses in South Carolina that I had, when I bought the house from the guy, the mortgage payment was like $1,235, and the rent was $1,800. Property taxes are one of the things that are paid in arrears, which is super confusing. So the taxes that I'm paying in like Daniel, like if your mortgage payment might have adjusted a little bit, if the value of your house changed to positive or minus, or if you filed a homestead exemption. But the taxes that you're paying right now in your 2026 calendar time frame, you're paying 2025's taxes. You're not paying 2026's taxes. You're paying the previous year's taxes.
Is that because the lender has paid the 2026 taxes?
No, it's because the way that the county handles it, property taxes are always paid in arrears.
Okay.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Maybe that's because they're always evaluating the property tax to try to renegotiate or reevaluate the property tax in the actual year. And so it's like they'll put it a year out. Like
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty basic. But that just all this is to say
Okay.
is like,
Yeah.
if there's an escrow shortage and the escrow shortage is brought up, that's going to have to be part of the entry fee when we're looking at selling this to a buyer. We want to make sure that we include this, because when we catch the escrow shortage up, then the monthly payment, the regular mortgage payment, is going to be normalized, which is going to increase cash flow. Okay, so we obviously know, subject to requires some special, like basically the seller and the buyer both have to sign the subject to disclosure, so they know exactly what it is and the risks involved with this. Ideally, we'd want to set up a third-party debt servicer to do this, and they're usually like $40 to $50 a month just for their service, and they kind of handle a lot. They do the 1098s for interest paid. They do they'll do like a foreclosure process if that happens. You have to pay them a little extra for that, but like they'll do it. There's a due on sale or an acceleration clause. It's the same thing, which says that the lender can call the loan due if the title transfers. Though it's rare, especially if the loan is performing or it begins to perform, it's possible. This is usually going to happen if it happens with a small local bank of less than probably 5 locations. Big banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Freedom Mortgage, Carrington Mortgage, what one for Corbin or Shane, whatever one that was, Lakeview, Mr. Cooper, like the chance of that happening is
home serve loan.
Yeah, big loan servicers. It's very, very rare that this is going to happen with them. And this is not the end of the world. And it's not a criminal thing. It's a breach of contract from the borrower, and it's a civil issue. But it's easy to rectify. As long as the loan's performing, they don't care. And then we need to have the buyer get a new insurance policy with the buyer as the primary insured, but the lender, the seller needs to remain on the policy as a secondary insured just for the lender. So an exit strategy for this, we could rent it out and keep it. We could do a lease with an option on it. We could wholesale it to another investor. We could refinance it. We could, do a wraparound mortgage. There's a bunch of ways to do this. So this is going to lead me, Alex, to want to get granular with you, and maybe this will help Daniel, I don't know. But when it comes to underwriting, this is where we want to take notes. And I want to stop here because we will go through other strategies. We will, like a loan. We just did this with Zep. We just did a loan modification, right? Except we're going to buy the house. But we'll stop here because a lot of these are going to be subject tos. And Alex, if you get that, like, part of the entry fee is the arrears being caught up and then escrow shortage being made whole, then we have closing costs, and then we have an assignment fee. And so good deals, this is where we really want to be mindful. Like, good deals will have an entry fee of 10% or under. Okay, so for a buyer, it's basically like a 10% down payment. It functions like that. And then whatever that entry fee is, you want to be able to hit somehow in some way as close to, if not more than, a 10% cash on cash return if they're going to hold it as a rental. Okay? So how do we reverse engineer that? Well, first and foremost, we need to know what the property taxes are without any exemptions. Do you understand what, like, a property tax, like a homestead exemption or a disabled vet exemption or like a senior exemption or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, so like for example, I have a 100% disabled vet exemption on my homestead residence, which means my property taxes are waived entirely. I don't have to pay any property taxes on my homestead exemption. Now, if you we're looking to buy my house, subject to, and miss that, you're going to get hit with a tax bill and it's going to throw off your numbers. And I'll give you an example. I had a young guy that was wholesaling, brought this property to me somewhere near Randolph Air Force Base, and it was a nice house. And the guy that owned it was a 100% disabled vet. And he brought me the mortgage statement. He brought me all this stuff. And he was like, yeah, I want to make a $25,000 wholesale fee on this thing. And when I walked him through the mortgage statement, he was not factoring in property taxes being readjusted into the thing. And so I talked him into, like, let's go look at what the taxes would be without an exemption. And you're going to have to factor this in. And now somebody that owns this house buying the subject to, even with this nice rate on it, like, dude, you're going to be underwater like $300-400 a month. Like, somebody's going to have to pay $300-400 a month to own this house. Like, you shouldn't put this out there because you're going to look like an idiot. No one's going to want to buy your deals anymore. And he was like, well, I'm going to do it anyways. And I was like, dude, you should just sell it on, you should just take it, get $5,000 to close it and then sell it on a wraparound mortgage and actually do the right thing. But whatever. Just an example. We don't want to be that guy. And so when we're looking at all this stuff, we need to look at what are the taxes without an exemption, and so whether the guy has an exemption or not, that's not the main thing, because you can go and get it from BCAD. BCAD should show you what it is without an exemption. Houston in Tarrant County, like where Fort Worth is, I don't know the process. We'll have to figure that out, but it's the same. You're looking at the same criteria. We just need to figure out how to get the information. BCAD's easy because I'm familiar with it. You follow me here?
Yes.
Okay. Then we're going to have to go and look at what market rent rates are. And you're going to want to look at it from a long-term rental perspective and then a short-term rental perspective. And by the way, any repairs and maintenance that have to go to get it to be where it needs to be to rent it out, whether that's flooring, whether that's paint, whether that's new cabinets, whatever it is, whether it's like a hole in the wall with drywall, that repair work
has to be included into the entry fee.
Correct. Yes, that is correct. That's why turnkey deals are the best, because then we can make more money on our assignment fee without having to consider money going to repairs. And so there's that. With that being said, now we need to figure out what the long-term rent would be, and we can use a couple of different resources. We can check off what Zillow thinks it is, and Zillow's usually pretty accurate. We can go on and look at Rentometer.
Rentometer and MLS.
Yeah, MLS is pretty good. MLS is the best, really, I think. And then we can go and look at something like AirDNA to get an idea of what like a short-term rental would be on it. And obviously with a short-term rental like an Airbnb or a Vrbo, you're going to want to see the best ones are going to be near amenities like theme parks, sporting events, downtown, vacation destinations like maybe the Riverwalk in San Antonio or the Alamo, things like that. Those are going to be hot Airbnb opportunities, and so you'd be able to move those pretty fast, I think. Also, a new thing that Daniel has connected with some people is co-living, where they basically rent out rooms to people for a certain period of time, and they share the house. It's almost like a hostel kind of a situation. That's an opportunity too. Now, I am not as privy on underwriting those deals. I'm a little bit ignorant. I probably should educate myself more on how somebody would how to comp that, because I just don't know where they're going to get their information from. Like, how do I know how much somebody would pay for a room in this area? And based on what criteria? Is it size? Is it like features? Is it fixtures? Is it location? Like, I just don't know. You know, I just don't. Or if like you have like we were looking at that one house in Argonne Way, like there were two suites in the house, one upstairs and one downstairs that had bathrooms in it. One was bigger than the other one. Well, how do we adjust numbers based off of those criteria? I just don't know. And so best we can do is learn, I guess. And obviously the more rooms, the better in that case. So that lady, Michelle Thomas, with that house near the airport. It's a 7-bedroom. It's a huge 7-bedroom house. In my opinion, even like with what I don't know, I feel like that house would be ideal for a co-living investor. Like if you can get $600, $700, $800 a room for that, dude, that thing's gonna make money all day.
Yeah.
So there's these kind of things. So Alex, underwriting the deal, like we have to reverse engineer it. And so we have to say, okay, based on these numbers, the entry fee is going to be fill in the blank. So let's say the entry fee is going to be $30,000, okay? And the house is going to be worth $300,000. So our entry fee is at 10% of the overall value of the house, which is good. That's what somebody wants to see. It's within range. It's the high end of good range. All right. So what would be a 10% cash on cash return of a $30,000 entry fee?
$30,000 a year.
No, that's a lot of money. So if my entry fee is 30 grand, what's 10% of 30
Oh,
grand?
3,000.
$3,000. Okay. So how do I reverse engineer or how do I underwrite this to try to factor in me getting three grand a year on this property? So let's say market rent would be $2,400 a month, and the property taxes are $5,895. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to and this would be probably more of an owner finance situation because you can't really dictate these terms of the subject to so much. You can basically look at the rent rate. You can take the taxes, the annual taxes without an exemption, divided by 12 because that's going to be what it's going to be distributed over a monthly, like a monthly mortgage payment would be. Then factor in, I don't know, $180, $200 for insurance, depending on the size of the house and the ARV of the house. The nicer the house is, the higher the policy is going to be, the premium is going to be. But say for 300 grand, you're probably good for like maybe 175 a month for just a landlord policy for that. And so you take the 175 plus the annual taxes divided by 12, whatever that is, it's probably going to be somewhere around, let's say it's 6 grand, let's say that's $500 a month. So we're at $675 a month in taxes and insurance alone. Okay. Now, if we basically need to take $2,400 and multiply that by 80% because any investor is going to usually at a minimum take off 20% of the revenue for operational expenses, saving for vacancy, saving for maintenance, saving for things that could go wrong, marketing potentially, capital expenditures like, putting money in an account for if the HVAC goes out, things like that. So you basically need to engineer or reverse engineer saying, okay, based off of 80% of my $2,400, I think that's $1,800 or is maybe no, is I don't even know, my calculator's gone. My wife took my phone. So can you do the math for me actually?
Okay. Start at the top.
$2,400 a month, that's my market rent rate for this property.
Okay.
Okay, multiply that by 80%.
Okay.
What's the number?
1920.
1920. Okay, I was definitely off. All right. So now we've just kind of determined that with a $6,000 annual property tax bill that spreads out to $500 a month over 12 months. Okay, so now we're going to deduct $500 out of that. Okay, and then our property insurance with a landlord policy at a $300,000 house, let's say it's $175 a month. So then we're going to take that and minus $175 out of that. Okay. So if my net goal is to make a 10% cash on cash return with my money, I want to be able to make $3,000 a year in positive cash flow. Okay. So if I'm going to do that, how much money do I need to make every month in cash flow? Is that like
close to 280, maybe some 260, something like that?
Is that what? Can we?
I don't know. I'm at 1245, so just remember that.
Correct.
So
yeah. Okay.
3,000 divided by 12, 250.
So take 1245 and minus 250.
995.
So the 995 is going to be what I can pay every month in principal and interest to the seller. This would be an owner finance opportunity. So that 995 or 985 or whatever that number is that all everything I just gave you amounts to the components of a rental property. So here's the market
And
rents.
let me just ask real quick, just so I can make sure I'm registering my brain. The 80%, if it was $2,400 a month, the 80% that is going to um, fixing things like a savings account to make sure that no.
The 20% is the 20%.
That's what I said.
Yeah, you said the 80%.
Oh, my bad. The 20%.
Yeah, those are going to be called like in an umbrella term or a general term, operating expenses.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Operating
those
expenses.
that includes vacancies, maybe pest control, maybe landscaping or lawn care. That depending on how you do your lease, it could be saving money for just small things like a leaky toilet or a cracked window or maybe a little bit of touch-up paint. Like, I mean, whatever it is, it could also
Whatever it is.
Yeah, marketing to get, like, if you got to pay, like if you have a vacancy, like you're gonna have, like, how are you gonna advertise that vacancy to the world to get people to want to rent your house? Then you also want to have some money allocated that you don't touch for any of that stuff, accruing up and building up in case something big needs to be replaced, like
Roof, AC unit.
Yeah.
Dealing with here. AC unit.
Because if you don't do this right, then all that money you made. So like if I made cash flow of $3,000 a year for 3 years, right? That's 3 years of owning this property. And then all of a sudden I have a $9,000 HVAC problem. Well, dude, all that profit I just made is gone. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not good. So you want to do it right. And so like that's why I'm saying a good investor, somebody that knows what they're doing, is going to take at least 20% of the revenue and put it aside for operating expenses. And so what we just reverse engineered is a way that we can say, hey, I can pay the seller $985 a month, principal and interest, mailbox money, and then you can just basically look at the principal amount that you're gonna finance from them, and then you can get the interest. You can calculate the interest payments and all that stuff. Now, on a subject to, it's a little bit different because the terms are already in place, and you're looking at the terms and the money and seeing what's the best play on this. So the thing with San Antonio that's challenging is that the taxes and insurance are high here, and the rent rates aren't as high as they are in other places in the country. So when you go to a place like Kansas, like Wichita, Kansas, or maybe Dayton, Ohio, or maybe Springfield, Illinois, or somewhere in the Midwest where rental properties are phenomenal out there, they're paying a fraction of what they're paying here in taxes. A fraction. So like if their old property taxes is $2,000 a year, dude, like some people are paying more than that a month here in Texas for their taxes. Like my house in San Antonio, my other house that I have, dude, the house on the tax, the BCAT is like $270,000, dude, and my tax rate's like $7,000, like $7,400 a year.
Well, hopefully, property tax go away here soon.
I know, but they're not going to go away for rental properties. They're going to go away for primary residences.
Yeah, that's what I care about right now.
So these are just things to consider. So when you're looking at a subject too, so like we looked at this dude, Rene Mejia, right? Do you remember that, Alex? So we're looking at constructing an owner finance opportunity with him, and we reversed engineered it just like I just walked you through. But let's say with what's the guy that we're looking at doing a subject to with the other guy that's interested?
Yeah. Antonio.
Antonio, yeah. So what we're going to have to do is get his mortgage statement and see what he's got going on there. Okay, what is his monthly payment? Taxes, insurance, principal, interest. And then are we able to hit those numbers with a long-term rental? If not, what other exit strategy could we use to help them to make it like a good profitable investment? Well, then we're going to have to go look at maybe Airbnb. And then with an Airbnb, like let's assume that whatever jurisdiction it's in, like whether it's an HOA or not, allows an Airbnb. In San Antonio, that's a thing. So let's say we can Airbnb it. Well, like, will the Airbnb projections produce enough cash flow and revenue for me to want to buy the deal? If it does, okay, yeah, we're good. We got this. We'll do it all day. And I think that's kind of the way we do it. Or the pad split situation where, if we can rent $800 a room for 5 rooms, well, that's $4,000 a month in revenue, where this house might rent for $2,500 on a long-term rent to one family. So, the pad split situation's a little more. You have a little more operating expenses. So like you got to put paper towel in there. You got to put soap and shampoo in there. You have to have toiletries. You have to kind of like the towels and all that stuff. Like you kind of got to do that stuff for the most part that I'm aware of. But somebody that knows what they're doing obviously knows this. So I'm not trying to like fire hose feed you right here. I'm trying to give you some perspective when I'm going to be kicking you deals, right? Like I want you to have the clarity to say, hey, like, there are ways we can make money on this. And you would come to me with the findings you have for almost like an approval, kind of like what Sage does with Josh. Now, he's been doing it a little bit longer, but you're a smart guy. And I think if you can grasp these concepts, basically you can come to me and say, hey, here's the rents, here's what I've discovered, like here's what here are the metrics, here's the cash on cash return. I think we could move it at this because of this. And I think you can do that. You following me here?
I'm following.
Yeah. And then that's going to give you the understanding to, buy your own deals if you want to, which would be nice. It'd be a real blessing for me. So, you have any questions on this?
No, I think I'm at a point where I'm really grasping subject to in a way that I can actually explain it to somebody where they can actually understand what's going on.
Okay.
I think what I probably just need to brush and just round out just some of the rougher edges is the entry fee versus the cash on cash return, which I think I'm now understanding. I think I did that with what's his name, Antonio. I think I kind of already did that a little bit, but I didn't grasp the 10% cash on cash return. But now that you said it again, it's like I'm almost piecing all that together. But I just need to probably just do that a few more times, just obviously to have a better grasp at it. And eventually, it'll be mastered.
Yeah, if it's 10% is like a goal to hit or exceed, some people will not buy less than 10%, but some people will. And it is what it is. Some people will do it without a problem.
I think Harold would do it.
Yeah,
he would buy lower, but I mean, obviously, I want to try to get him a good deal.
Yeah, but also some investors will buy it not only for this, but they'll also buy it for the tax benefits as well. Because if it's a rental, you're going to get depreciation. You're going to be able to take a paper loss on your taxes. So which is nice.
Okay.
You following me here?
Yeah.
Very good.
Totally.
Okay. So, do you feel like after this you have a little bit more of a grasp on concepts, on terms, like underwriting a deal that's like a rental deal, that's like a buy and hold deal, like whether it's going to be a short term or a long term or whatever?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So do you understand what cash flow actually is?
Yes.
So you have the operating expenses, and you have the debt service.
Yeah, it's cash that's coming in month after month, year after year. It's the flow of cash coming in.
Well, it's
that outside of expenses, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
Yes. Okay. Right on. That's really good. And so basically, like the $3,000 is going to be the term called the NOI, or the net operating income.
Yes.
That makes sense.
100%.
Yeah. So if your NOI is whatever, let me ask you this: if my NOI is $4,500 a year, what would be my monthly cash flow?
4,500. So you just divide that by 12.
Yes.
So $4,500 divided by 12, your monthly cash flow is $375 a month.
Okay, that's my average monthly cash flow. So, but it might fluctuate. It might go to 450 one month. It might go to 200 one month. Not gonna be that way with a single family house, but like if you had like a multifamily situation,
Right, because there's vacancies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's rent changes and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
the basic simplicity of it with a single family house, with the long term tenants, it's gonna be that way now. But again, if you had an Airbnb, right, it's not gonna be the same thing every month. You might have more vacancy. Like you might have people that want to stay a couple of a few
busier time of the year.
Yeah,
All
so
that
my
stuff,
NOI
yeah.
in general, if my NOI in general is $4,500, I'm making $4,500 on that piece of property, not including tax benefits. It's going to be so that 12-month cash flow could be different. I just want to make sure that I'm making enough on it monthly to cover my debt service and operating expenses, and then anything above that's good. And so one month I might crush it. Right, like so. For example, if I'm in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in the winter months or the holidays, like that, dude, I'm probably gonna have no availability. It's gonna be booked consistently. But sometime, I don't know, maybe I don't know. I'm not super familiar with the area, but
I got you. I'm tracking.
you know what I'm saying?
I'm tracking.
Or Orlando, Disney on the spring break or the school breaks or the summer is probably gonna be slammed.
Right? That's probably not actually.
Okay, well, yeah, but I'm just
yeah. Believe it or not, busier time is actually like around fall, and then spring. But not summertime is slower around here. Believe it or not.
Yeah. Okay. So you get what?
But yeah, I got you. I'm following. I'm tracking. So fully understand where you're coming from on that.
So these are going to be two cash sub 2, and then we'll work on we'll just cover this one right now and then we'll hop off. And so we have the last one is going to be a loan modification. Now we can do a loan modification and a subject to, depending on the situation, like we're doing with Zep. Yep. But a loan modification, like we can still get a referral fee for this for somebody that does this, like Kim, right? And if we can't,
or the other guys.
Yeah. So this would be that they still should be sending us leads, by the way. They this could be for somebody that wants to stay in their home, right? A lot of people want to stay in their home and maybe can afford a modified payment and they just need help. But they can't come up with the 15 grand or the 20 grand or more to stay in, but they can actually, maybe they had some kind of a change and they can actually stay. So they can pay, they might be able to pay $2,000 or $3,000 for a loan modification, and then we can make a fee on that. We can make a referral fee on that. It still helps.
Little bit of a question here as to our strategies, and being that I'm the one that's calling, obviously I'm the one that's processing the individual and the call. Obviously, now that we have a loan modification strategy where maybe it's possible somebody can, somebody like the other guys and Kim and whoever else can purchase the note.
That's not a loan mod.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, never mind. I'll hold that question.
Go ahead. But I just want to make sure, like, loan modification is not the same thing as buying the note.
True. Yeah. 100%. But in that scenario where somebody can stay in the home, well, I guess a loan modification, they can still stay in the home with the loan mod.
Yeah. Most people are going to want to do that.
So then when I'm processing these people, I'm trying to see what their overall goal and objective is to help them achieve what their goal is.
Correct.
So it's not always to buy the house.
Yeah, just like the regular process call. What's the picture perfect scenario?
Yeah. Like, let me help you achieve your goal.
Correct.
Yeah. I may not want to buy your house because you don't want to sell it. You want to stay.
And sometimes
obviously it may not happen that way because they can't afford it.
Correct. If somebody, so like I talked to somebody a couple months ago that could not afford it. And they wanted this, like they were bent on staying in the house. I was like, dude, the auction is literally in 7 days. And you don't have $30,000 to catch this up. Like what
are you going to do?
I know. It's like, what do you do? Like, well, we don't want to, like, and she was like, literally everybody I talked to just wanted to buy the house. And it's like, duh. Like, no kidding. Do you not want to go to the damn like? What are you doing? So, but you're dealing with people that are kind of like that. So that person, yes, they want to stay in their home. A loan modification is not an option for them because they don't have the means to pay.
Right.
So the only way to solve the problem is to actually buy the house, and they have to be willing to cooperate with that. If not, then they're going to go to the chopping block, and it sucks. But we have to just move on and chalk our losses up.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the situation. So we have people in our corner now that can go and execute a loan modification, and we can make money. Like if they really want to stay, they can do the loan modification. They haven't had success, well, we can get them success, and they will. Because like Zepp applied for a loan modification before Kim, and they got denied, but Kim got it done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So just so you know. And that is the way that the cookie crumbles today. So this is going to be contingent on them wanting to stay and they can afford the modified payment.
So just out of curiosity, side question: what is the entry fee now for Zep?
Zero. Other than our assignment fee and some closing costs. And what we don't know is the condition of the house. Of which the lady.
So whatever could be need to update cosmetic paint.
Yeah, like hopefully this lady did not trash the house.
Like pour concrete down the sink.
Yeah, or just rip all the drywall off, or take a Sharpie and color everything. Like, yeah, we just don't know. Hopefully she didn't do that. But according to what I've heard from the sellers, Mr. and Mrs. Zepp, like I don't know.
There's no telling what they've done.
Yeah, it's makes me think like what were you like? They said that she didn't even have a job. It's like what were you doing even renting the house to her? Anyways, be that as it may, are we good with this? So we have the cash purchase. There has to be enough equity. There has to be the numbers have to work for a cash purchase at a discount, and if they can, we can put the money in the pocket. 2 would be a subject to. We just need to know how to underwrite a subject to. We have to know how to calculate the entry fee. We have to look at the numbers and see if the numbers work. And if they do, then we can take it subject to. And we can either keep it ourselves. It's a possibility. We can sell it on a wraparound mortgage. We could do a lease option with it. We could wholesale it to another investor. All these are opportunities that we can do with it. And then if they have the means and they want to stay in the home, then we can help them with the loan modification, refer it out, and make a referral fee. And it's not going to be much, but it still helps them, and we still make something,
right?
Which is still a win in my book. And so
we'll
go through the rest of these opportunities. More of these opportunities next week as we begin to work this data and grow in excellence in our ability to solve their problems and also make money doing it. Is that a boom? Full send?
Boom. Oh, full send. Boom. That was